So on both occasions, the call just rang out.
It just rang out, absolutely. I didn't get through.
Don't miss out on this captivating podcast. Subscribe now and listen to the entire box set on newstalk.com/Inside the Crime. Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, watch Spurs take on Manchester City on Super Sunday. Live, only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. This is Football Saturday, all the way now for the rest of the show. Remember, Football on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. The Premier League is back. Watch every live game for the rest of the season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. We're streaming the conversations. You can listen across the country on your radio and News Talk, but also watch us on the digital and social channels for Off the Ball, for Periscope and Twitter, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. We're joined, delighted to be in the studio, by the former League of Ireland and FAI Cup winning player Graham Gartland, the current Cobh Ramblers manager Shane Keegan, and the football correspondent of the Irish Independent Dan McDonnell. You can text us 53106. Lads, hope you're all well. Everton 1, Arsenal 0. What?
Yeah, we were just talking about it, weren't
Great
we?
start to the day.
Great start for Dyche, yeah. You were saying, is it like proper football? But like, I think when you look back on Everton, and I think what they want is just maximum effort from their players, wherever their talent level is. Bring that. It's a tight in ground, isn't it? And they want to sort of create an atmosphere, generate pressure. They want sort of robustness in terms of how the players are making tackles and get round the pitch, and something they can get behind. And I think no matter the skill level at Everton, if you're giving them maximum effort, I think the fans will take to the players there, like, you know. And I think that's what you see with them today. We were talking maybe, you know, Sean Dyche. I think it's, when people say he's an old-fashioned manager, but it's hard to judge him, because I think he's always been with clubs that would have had low budgets, and he has to get the maximum out of a squad that he has. So for him, it'd be interesting to see what he does at Everton if he is given the money that they have spent the last few years to maybe bring in higher quality players than he would have been able to bring in at Burnley in terms of the financially. So that's why I find that it'd be interesting to see what he does, if he just goes back to being old fashioned, or does he try and bring it up a level again.
I mean, I suppose I'm interested in asking you lads the football men as such, like the bounce, right? Have you experienced the bounce at any stage in your life where like a new manager comes in and you are the new manager, you know, and like you win your first game? And it's very hard to explain it, because like now it's like, oh, this is going to be a great success or whatever, but it is also just that, like, is it just a fresh voice? Is it just...
It's definitely something you don't want to come up against. I don't know if I've been in the position of being in the advantageous position, but definitely as a manager, you don't want to be coming up against a team who the new manager is only in the door that week. You don't. No, because if it's a new manager in, inevitably that means that team had been struggling. You're happy enough for them to stick with the status quo, whereas... yeah, a new man comes in the door, like everybody, you know, naturally enough, everybody kind of steps up a gear, really, so they do. And like, it's the most Sean Dyche of Sean Dyche wins, isn't it? 1-0 from a set piece. Like, I mean, it's his trademark. Like, it's his absolute trademark. Now, I saw the goal. How the hell Arsenal ended up with Odegaard marking Tarkowski is beyond me.
Yeah, well, like,
he bullied the life out of him for the goal, so he did. I mean, I just don't know how you do your matchups and Odegaard ends up with Tarkowski. That one seemed absolutely
semi-zone already.
Yeah, like, I know a few of us were travelling in. Like, I saw the first half and then didn't see the second half, but it was striking. Like, there was one stage in the first half, like Everton got 4 corners in one passage of play, if you know what I mean. And like, Everton were just being very direct and effective, and they tried a couple of different things. There was one where Calvert-Lewin came near post and actually got there, but just didn't quite execute it. And you're thinking, okay, they've obviously done a little bit of work this week, and clearly the volume they were creating, they had a few things in their playbook that one of them came off, you know. And I mean, I suppose the thing about Dyche, the one advantage he has, like, he comes in this week and okay, it's a new manager, but he knows Tarkowski, he knows Dwight McNeil in particular. You know, he was actually, you know, effective in the first half, and he probably just has an idea what some of the players are about. He knows. They know what he's about, and it sort of works. I mean, like, we're talking about Everton now, and the flip side is Arsenal are like, all of a sudden, you know, in that zone of, are they in a bit of bother here?
Just let you know, folks, Liverpool are behind already. So Joel Matip own goal, 1-0 for Wolves at Molineux, and Man United leading Crystal Palace by a goal to 0. A Bruno Fernandes penalty, and as Aston Villa 1, Leicester 0, with a goal from Ali Watkins.
See, to answer your question, that obviously Shane was talking, as a player in the dressing room, what happens is if you're playing and it's not going well for you, and a new manager comes in, you're thinking, right, he's going to lift people. you might need a lift yourself in terms on a personal level or confidence level wise in terms of how you're playing, but it lifts all the other people who are disenfranchised around it.
Absolutely.
So you're the lads who aren't getting enough game time, it lifts them, that they have a bit of hope that they're going to get something. That's why when the bounce comes in, it happens. And after 3 or 4 games, the lads who realise, well, I'm not actually getting more game time, they resort back to what they were, which is basically unhopeful that they're going to get a game, and then it goes back to it's the same old here, and they're trying to get out. So I think it gives players who aren't in the squad a little bit of hope, and it lifts the whole group. And then all of a sudden he's like, he's talking to me a little bit more than the previous manager done. That's a welcome, really. They brought in these things, he's saying hello to the staff, all the things that mightn't have been a negative for Lampard but become a positive for Dyche, because it's just different. And then they associate that with, he's made us win, we're going to get behind him, and that's where the bounce comes a little bit. Like
100%. Like whatever you do differently as a manager, I've said this before, whatever you do differently as a manager, when things are going well, the things you do differently, that's the reason that the team is going well. When the team is going poorly, the things you do differently, that's the reason why the team is going poorly. The exact same things will be pointed to either way. So he walks in there, and what he does differently, or his DNA, will be seen as a freshness, a new approach. It'll all be positivity, and then it's how long does it remain as a positive before
I
they
also
start
think
putting
he's
the negative
clever.
on it.
Like, I think he's clever in that he knows his audience, like with Everton and what they are. Like, no snoods, no hats, no track bottoms and training.
Yeah.
All of a sudden the fans are like, we're behind.
I know that is rubbish, really,
exactly,
isn't it?
because he's pushing, and it's a well-known fact. Like, we talk about, I remember making an absolute show of myself one time. I was out in Santry doing pre-season training, and I was running around the track in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt in the middle of January getting ready for pre-season. And I remember like loads of runners running by me, and the look they gave me, like as if they thought I was mad. They thought I was like, and a fella comes over to me just trotting by, like real springy run. He's like, what are you doing? It's getting ready for training, that pre-season, like starting back. He's like, why aren't you wearing clothes? I was like, just shorts and a t-shirt. And he's like, keep your muscles warm. What are you doing? Like, they were all in body warmers, leggings, gloves, and these are sprinters that were like doing 400-metre runs. And then I'm thinking, that's when it hit me that, you know,
so the hard man approach,
right? Like, keep your muscles warm. Now, I do say, well, you should be warm by the time you're going into training. You don't need hats, gloves, scarves and snoods. Yeah, you're right. I'd agree with that to a certain extent. But in the warm-up, having track bottoms on to keep your muscles warm, I wouldn't be saying, like, take them off when it's time to train. That was the rule we had when I first started, was you can warm up in tracks and bottoms.
2-0 to Wolves against Liverpool.
You had to take them off.
And Craig Dawson, who's in for Nathan Collins today, getting the goal. So these are always subject to VAR as the moment they go in. Aston Villa 1, Leicester 1. So Leicester have equalised James Maddison into the team today at Villa Park.
If we have another Liverpool chat.
So, we haven't really talked about Arsenal. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, you talk about the consistency that you need to win a league, and it does seem like, a lunchtime Saturday kickoff, the 12:30 games, they're the ones you need to sort of you just see to steamroll through them. And it is now, it's amazing how it can change the perception of a team. Like, one disappointment like that, and all of a sudden it's just, okay, didn't see that one coming. You probably would have looked at Arsenal's fixture list and said, okay, some of the tricky hurdles, they've actually scaled them, they've passed them. And then Everton away, okay, it's the bounce and all of this factor, but you're thinking,
still think they'll have enough to get by you.
Yeah, you still would think so. And now it's a different vibe. That feels like a momentum.
That seems like it feels like the first time this season that Arsenal being Arsenal, soft Arsenal away from home.
Yeah, and they had, it's like they had one or two chances. In Nketiah had a big chance in the first half. It's almost like the commentator's curse or the writer's jinx or something, because I had a piece in the paper today about, I spoke to Shane amongst others about playing Arsenal in 2020. A couple of the Dundalk players who played against Nketiah, who of the lads he played against in that time, I know Xhaka was involved in one of the games, but of the players who played the most, he is the one player who was central to Arsenal's title challenge, and he's sort of really brought them he's elevated his game to another level, whereas some of the other players you encountered have dropped off or they're not there. Joe Willock's at Newcastle doing well, some of them are on the fringes, and Nketiah has turned into a real killer. And just today he had that chance, and all of a sudden you're thinking,
Look, I was relying, as I say, I was driving up, so I was listening to the commentary, but so I'm relying on the numbers a little bit. But I just have the Stats On app open in front of me. They have it down here. They classify a big chance as something with next G of over 0.5. 4-0 to Everton on big chances. So it obviously wasn't a fluke. It might have been a goal from a set piece, but it's not a fluke by judging on the numbers here.
Not
anyway.
the first half of the
and look, he played his trump cards pretty early. Like he got Jorginho on with half an hour left. He got Trossard on with half an hour left. And I suppose these are the fellas that he's saying are given the extra squad depth, that they're the fellas, that we can turn to rather than just having a strong 11. We've now got a strong, 15, 16. But those boys got in the field and don't seem to have much
the amount of fouls
today.
they were willing to make in the first 20 minutes. I think the bit I seen was they were leaving things on Odegaard and Saka, and anytime they came inside they were getting hit a lot and just disrupt Arsenal's flow in the game. And again, the Everton fans are going to get behind that, aren't they? Because they're like, well, we back ourselves to defend the free kick and set pieces, but you're not playing through us. You're not running through us. You're not playing through us. You're going to have to do something.
As a player, you're going out onto the field. Like, different managers are going to look for different traits within their players, aren't they? Like, if you're walking out onto the field under Sean Dyche, you're thinking, if I can lay a glove on a few fellas here, there's a good chance he'll stay picking me, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'd have played for him.
We have a result in from the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup at the Dublin Racing Festival, and no surprise, Galopin des Champs 130 on favours, so 3-10, winning for Paul Tennant in the saddle for Willie Mullins, an 8-length victory for Galopin des Champs over Statler, stablemate Fury Road in third. That's 3 winners out of 4 races at Leopardstown today for Willie Mullins. The second half is underway now in Cardiff in the Six Nations. Ireland 27 points, Wales 3 tries. Caelan Doris, James Lowe and James Ryan will keep you right up to date with what's happening there. Text in here on 53106. John, as a fellow Spurs fan, I can hear the joy in your and Shane's voices at Arsenal losing today. I'll take a draw against City tomorrow, even though I'm heading over, says Adrian in Laois. We've got high lads footballers, all about good managers. Everton have got one now, same at United. All the owners have to do is pick a good manager, says Sean. So Sean Dyche, is he in this mould of Neil Warnock, Tony Pulis, Sam Allardyce, these kind of functional fixers, or has that been unfair to him?
Look, I think that's a reasonably...
And they're loved characters.
And to be fair, like, you look at the teams that those managers have managed, right? By and large, when a team with a limited budget overachieves, it is playing that kind of football, isn't it? Like, it's fairly rare that a team with a limited budget overachieves by playing lovely football. Ian Holloway, when the Blackpool had that savage season, and probably Brighton at the moment, are the only two I can think who've overachieved doing it that way. By and large, it's usually structure, organisation, kick and run, set pieces. That tends to be that way how teams who are operating with the smaller budgets tend to get their bit of success. And look, I think that's his DNA, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Rogers at Swansea.
Yeah, there's another one.
There's
a
few where
Martinez.
Yeah,
maybe
and then what happens is, but they're doing it with the hope that a bigger club comes in with bring that football to us with a bigger budget, and that's where they get the moves. Where the likes of, like you said, Allardyce, they're probably not getting their bigger clubs with more budget because the bigger clubs are saying, well, we don't want to play like that.
Well, to be fair, I feel we probably had a little bit of in the League of Ireland. Like, if you look when the Bowes job came up, okay, and like, absolutely no disrespect to it, like, Ian Ryan was a really good candidate for it, but you had people like Ian Ryan who were being linked with it because he was playing a really nice brand of football, and he was. Again, I'm not arguing against that. Whereas I'm looking on paper and I'm going, well, Tommy Barrett has a lesser budget and he's finishing ahead of them, but how come he doesn't get linked with it? And it's probably because the brand of football is different.
That's a big
narrative around that.
Yeah, it's a big talking point in the UK at the moment as well. It's definitely a point that there would have been a view that, lower down the leagues, there might have been some managers who'd be very conscious that the style of football that their team plays is as important for their future job prospects as their results, and once your team is perceived to be playing in a particular style, that is about more than the bottom line, and that is that is a live discussion point that people within football have been having, and it's very much in vogue.
Well, that kind of football disappeared then to a certain extent, because if every young manager coming through was thinking, well, for my career prospects, I need is playing this way.
I felt even with Brendan Rodgers, even at Celtic, sometimes you go into Europe and try and play the same way, and you're thinking, are you playing this way for yourself and your ultimate beliefs? Are you playing in a way that's trying to get the best result for your football team? And sometimes, I even go back to Ferguson here, and because I think people have this perception, and everybody has the perception that Ferguson, he played unbelievable football. They did against 18 out of 19 teams.
Yeah.
But when they came up against the great Arsenal side, or they kicked lumps out of them in one of the games. I think the game that they broke the record, Arsenal were 50 unbeaten at Old Trafford, it was an evening game. They kicked lumps out of Arsenal for about 3 years just to get a result against them, and I've no issue with that. I'm not saying that's wrong, but this perception that they always play great football. They did against the teams that they should beat, but when they came up against a team that had a bit more, or they had to dig in and do certain things, Ferguson ultimately done what they needed to win. It just so happened that he built United up to this, to be this behemoth. But I found out with Rodgers, when I would go and watch a lot of them in Europe, he try and go toe to toe with some teams, and I'm thinking, you can't go toe to toe with Bayern Munich and stuff. But it was Mike, well, look, I can play against us with not as much budget, so maybe I might get a shot with a bigger budget. Ultimately, that's how he's mapped it, and I see a lot of people trying to do that. I think Dan's right. A lot of young coaches are trying to maybe emulate that.
Is that how Arsenal react now, isn't it, lads? I suppose that's the thing.
Yeah, and they've City pretty quickly, don't they? I don't think it's next, but I think it's after that.
It's on Wednesday week, yeah.
Fairness, you couldn't pick a better game than to bounce back from, isn't it? And I know you probably think, well, you might want an easy game at home, but
I think they've both, actually. I think they've Brentford next, which
at home.
Well, I suppose not the easiest game in the world, but it is one they should be winning at home. But then it's City pretty quickly on the back of that. So two different kind of tests for them.
And if they want to win it, they have to go through with both of them.
Yeah, Wolves 2, Liverpool 0. 23 minutes in. Man United 1, Crystal Palace 0. Aston Villa 1, Leicester 1, Everton 1, Arsenal 0. The results from earlier on in the Championship. We have, earlier, I think Burnley with hammered Norwich there. They did by 3-0, and that's a result. Rotherham 0, Sheffield United 0 is a result as well. Huddersfield trail QPR by goals 0, Hull 0, Cardiff 0, Luton 1, Stoke 0, Middlesbrough 0, Blackpool 0, Millwall 0, Sunderland 0, Preston 0, Bristol City 1, Reading 0, Watford 0, Swansea 0, Birmingham 1. In the Rugby Ireland lead, Wales have got a try by 27 points to 8. So are Wales on the verge of a fight back? They have a lot to do in the second half with Ireland, with that cushion at the moment of probably going to be about 17 points by the end of the conversion. Chelsea drew with Fulham last night. I know, look, football is a capitalist entity, but are they making a mockery of the whole game with all these transfers?
I wrote them out here this morning, and I seen Nathan Wood, probably the second best presenter in Off the Ball, John, has a list up of the players who weren't even in the squad last night, and it's scary. Like Mendy, Fofana, Kante, Kovacic, Sakari, Loftus-Cheek, Pulisic, Broha, Joe Felix and Aubameyang weren't even in the matchday squad for Chelsea last night.
Some of them are injured, but yeah.
Yeah, but obviously Joe Felix suspended as well. But then you're thinking, when they're all fit and available, how are they fitting in? And then the money they spent and even the bit that catches you out, they're giving 7.5 year contracts to players with a year option. And that's where FIFA have come in and said the max they can give is 5 years now. But yeah, the money they spent, like I always found with Chelsea, and I don't know how my perception, and it's sometimes backed up by a little bit of what you see, that they tend to be a reactionary club to signings, where you go back to Robin signing for them back with Mourinho. He was very close to signing for Man United. He came in, they got gazumped. William was basically doing a medical at Spurs and then gets whipped over. Other players have been close to other moves, and then they've been gazumped by Chelsea, where they've come in and taken them in the last hour. And I don't think much has changed. I think the best they've probably been in the transfer market was Mourinho's first year, where he picked the lads who he wanted. He took Carvalho. Drogba was his big one that he took. That he was like, no, that's who I want. I want a figurehead to this. This is what we need.
Zoning in on something. Whereas now it's like a machine gun approach, isn't it? It's
they found you like him. So what?
They found a way to play the system, though, haven't they? With all these 8.5-year deals.
The 8.5-year. It's just about spreading the money out. Yeah. And it just goes to show, like, people talk about like financial fair play and, clamping down on exorbitant spending and various you try and put in measures, but there's always a loophole. There's always something people will find. And I think with the Chelsea one, I mean, it's just brazen. Like, I mean, Enzo Fernandez signs, and I think he's like 21, 22, and like the contract expires when he's 30. Like, it's like an Alan Pardew deal for everyone in the audience.
But explain.
And like it's because if you spread it out, it's to do with you can delay the structure of payments and so on, so it doesn't all come within
the one I couldn't wrap my head around is, maybe there's an obvious explanation for it, did the Matt Doherty, was the change in the Matt Doherty thing because Spurs had reached their capacity of loans?
Yes.
Do Chelsea not have like 50 players out on loan? If they not players
I
scattered everywhere on loan,
I think there's a senior player definition and homegrown players.
Okay.
So there's a number of loans. So if someone would be a homegrown player, if they've been, so Matt Doherty wouldn't be considered a homegrown player for Spurs, but for example, someone like Oliver Skip might be, or I can't think of any. Someone who's come through like Troy Parrott wouldn't count in the Spurs loan quota. It's to do with sort of senior players.
His class is development.
Yeah, so they were at 8 players. So that's basically what happened with Matt Doherty. But I'm sure we'll talk about Doherty in a bit. But to go back to the Chelsea thing, it is just. I mean, it's obscene spending. I mean, like I said, I've probably made this point before. We would have been speaking, with the Abramovich situation. You're thinking, God, could this be the end for Chelsea? And then you come in now and you have the sort of Todd Bowley and his various investors, and there seems to be all this briefing of, well, who's the real power here making the decisions, because they're spreading the responsibility for just they think this is smart. Like they think this is smart just to play it this way, whereas
you haven't cleared out.
It's just scattergun. Well, they're going to have to. I think the plan is to clear out in the summer, by all accounts. They
haven't cleared. Like they signed 13 players between July and January, and they haven't really cleared out. And what'll happen is you get players who are sitting on good money that don't move then, and you're not getting value for them then when you go to resell them in the market. So if they go in the summer and say, right, we're going to sell all these players, the other team know they're in the buying position because they want them out. So it becomes you're not getting your value back on them.
No. It is striking that. Watching the end of the game last night, see was there booze, and there wasn't really booze a full time, a handful, but not like a smattering, but nothing bad. So people are sort of probably on board with giving it a bit of time, it would appear, but I don't know, it's just a bit crazy. Look, we would have been talking about it off air, like David Fofana, who played for Molde against Shamrock Rovers a couple of months back. You would have been commentating on those games probably, Graham. Like, he's on last night, and he actually had one chance cleared off the line, but you weren't sort of watching him play a couple of months back in Talagon. That's someone who's going to be going to Premier League, a top Premier League club, and yet he's in there and straight away he's in off the bench looking for a goal off him. You're thinking, this is a bit mad, like it's sort of a bit
the other big challenge with that many players, I'm pretty sure it was in one of Ferguson's autobiographies, like he made the point that he used to keep the squad reasonably trim. Obviously he'd bulk it out with a few young fellas, but his argument was that as soon as you had more fellas that you weren't picking every week than you had that you were. So in other words, if you have 25 stars and you're only picking 11 of them and 14 you're not, he says you're on a loser straight away. Like, if you've got more unhappy people in your dressing room than happy people in your dressing room, like how do you manage that situation?
Let's just break away from this conversation for a moment. Let's get an update from Cardiff, because Wales are trying to fight back against Ireland in the Six Nations. What's the latest? Gordon Darcy.
It's in Cardiff now, 51 minutes on the clock, 27 points to 10. And Wales, a completely different team after the break, come back out. There's a bit of a nervy start from both teams, a little bit of kicking, and Wales turning down the opportunity for points, kicking at goal, gone to the corner twice, and they've gotten over the line for 7 points. Just another penalty just 2 minutes ago, and Ireland made it to disrupt the Welsh drive up there. So really different game. I was actually thinking about just before half time that Ireland need one more try to kill off this Welsh team. They haven't got it, but they're defending really, really well. So lots to play for here in Cardiff, and Wales finally turning up much more of a Gatland game. So a Gatland team that we expected. So 52 minutes on the clock. Wales on the attack, 27 points to 10.
Okay, Ireland leading by 17 points, but Wales back in this one in the Six Nations. Cardiff could be right up to speed with Gordon Darcy at the Principality Stadium. You kind of feel, I don't know how Graham Potter's meant to feel, guys, because you don't feel that he's behind all of these decisions or is directing this, because he's just been handed almost, you got these 15 new players now and make the best of them.
Yeah, it is, and it's, like you said, the fact that they put them on longer contracts than probably the managers on as well, isn't
problems there?
Exactly, but it's a strange one, because they sort of backed him. I thought when he first came in, they were allowed him to bring every one of his staff from Brighton that he requested. They had a big clear out and brought in all of his staff, and they said, right, get us up and running and get us going. But I think you need to clear it out before you start bringing in players, because like you said, that unrest then comes in, and you've seen it. I remember one of the biggest examples was Winston Bogart at Chelsea, where he just didn't want to go out on loan, didn't want to do anything, but was on astronomical wages, and I think seeing it out for 5 years. And you have people like that at your football club, it's not a good thing. So I do feel they need a good clear out in the summer and a reset to go right. They've obviously signed young players as well in this. They're not just signing like stars, which they did probably a good few years ago, even before Mourinho, where they were bringing in the likes of Crespo and Vialli was one of them, Zola and all these boys, that were coming to the end. They brought them in, but they are signing young, but now they need to make room for them to play. And how do you do that? I don't know.
See, the other, to add to Graham's point, like Keane was on TV the other night after the United game, and they were talking, what has sparked, what has been the big things behind the turnaround at United. And Keane went less so after who they'd signed and more so after who they'd managed to get rid of. And he started listing off names. I think he listed off about 6 names that United had managed to get out the door. And Keane thought this was huge in terms of how United had managed to create the right atmosphere and turn it around. And even if you look at Arteta, I mean, again, things really kicked off for Arteta when he got Aubameyang out the door, didn't it? Yeah. So quite often it's actually less about who you can sign and more about who you can bloody get out the door.
Yeah, and coming into the dressing room every morning and thinking, okay, I like the vibe that I've got created here. It's quite, I mean, you see the Chelsea one, and this is the thing, like you sometimes put the highest level of football on a pedestal and you think like this is, like everyone there has it figured out. Like it's almost though like that the most intelligent people are at the top and then it filters down and people below just aren't as smart or whatever. And then you see some of the Chelsea stuff and you realise, this is just like, this is just paradise here, let's play around. Even like the Ziyech thing, it just seems like Chelsea had issues with the paperwork. Even some more sympathetically briefed Chelsea pieces were admitting it was a mistake from their end. So Ziyech is unhappy. Like he wants to go. He's gone to Paris. Chelsea would appear ballsed up in some ways. And then 48 hours later he's on the pitch playing the game and you're thinking, what is like this is all over the place. And you assume, I know they know what they're doing. It's like sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. You've worked for American owners, Shane.
It's very reactionary. We had American owners as well at Dundee. Genie, man. Some crack, isn't it? Seriously.
Let's not generalise everyone in America, to be clear.
Honestly, the Yanks, I swear, it was like...
you just have.
I'm not going to generalise the Americans, but the Yanks.
Refer to a particular type of Americans there, using that word.
American football owners. It was tough, because you're actually sitting there thinking, you aren't getting this, like, and it's no, this is the way we want to do it, and this isn't the way it's going to work.
Yeah.
Now we had an idea how they wanted to do it.
Stan Kroenke's working now.
Oh yeah, but there was protests against him a few years ago as well. So
did Fenway not work?
Yeah, I felt it did. Yeah, I think some of them are coming in.
Then you've
some are more hands off and some are more hands on.
But I also think what Fenway done was they learned from what happened with Arsenal. When Arsenal moved from Highbury and all that stuff that happened, Fenway came in with the thought they were going to move Anfield and then realised it's going to take too long. We build it up. They get them a new training ground, all that stuff they invested in. They invested in the football club as well as the playing staff and Klopp, where I think with Arsenal, when moving them out of Highbury into a stadium, and then they couldn't spend that much money in terms of bringing in players. Hands were tired for a long time. Their recruitment suffered, and then they haven't won a Premiership title since leaving Highbury. Is that right?
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that? You're
that'd be right.
2004 last one.
Yeah, it was.
So there you go. So that's where you're going. Well, Fenway probably learned from another American owner's mistakes.
Yeah, Arsenal losing 1-0 to Everton today. Aston Villa have scored 2-1 against Leicester. They lead now. Harry Souttar, the new Fox, is signing with an own goal at Villa Park. It's Brentford 0, Southampton 0, Brighton 0, Bournemouth 0, Man United 1, Crystal Palace 0. Bruno Fernandes on the mark from the penalty spot after only 6 minutes. And Liverpool's dreadful run compared to where they were the last few years is continuing. 2-0 down away to Wolves. Molyneux, so Craig Dawson with the second goal after Joel Matip put the ball into his own net. We're going to speak about lots of other things, including Evan Ferguson, after the break here on Off the Ball Saturday. Dan McDonnell, Graham Gartland and Shane Keegan. We're back after
Football
this.
On Off the Ball.
With Sky. Catch Nottingham Forest versus Leeds tomorrow on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
This weekend, join News Talk in standing strong against domestic abuse. The Stand Strong movement, established by Allianz Insurance and their charity partner Women's Aid, calls upon the nation to take a moment on February 6th to do the Yoga Warrior pose and stand strong against domestic abuse, showing women subjected to abuse that they are not alone. Together, we can make a difference and stand strong against domestic violence. Visit newstalk.com/stand strong for more information.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All safe electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
The Tile Style Winter Sale ends this holiday Monday. It's your last chance for 40% off all in-stock top brand tiles, even porcelanosa. Guaranteed savings on bathrooms, kitchens and wood flooring in stock now in the Tile Style Winter Sale. Shop in-store at Ballymount or at tilestyle.ie.
Taking time out to visit a healthcare professional isn't always convenient. That's why at Irish Life Health, we visit you. With My Clinic, our members get virtual access to back and neck physiotherapy, professional counselling, unlimited GP consultations and more. Search Irish Life Health. A better life with Irish Life Health. Services available where covered on your plan and clinically appropriate. Professional counselling available to age 16 plus. Back and neck physio to age 18 plus. Irish Life Health Back is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply.
Imagine if coffee shops only made cappuccinos, butchers only did sausages, and florists only sold tulips. It's the same with cars. You want choice. That's why the Kia Sportage SUV is available in mild hybrid, self-charging hybrid, and plug-in hybrid electric. Low on emissions, but big on choice. The multi-award-winning Kia Sportage, now available for 2023 delivery.
Kia. Movement that inspires.
Say hello to spring with lots of fresh offers at your local Woodies, with deals like 3 for 2 on laminate flooring and up to 30% off home furniture. We've got everything you need to bring that spring feeling home. And if it's the garden that you're looking to spruce up this season, you won't want to miss the Karcher K4 Power Washer for only €299. Offers are for a limited time only, so don't miss out. Shop the way that suits you, in-store, online or click and collect. Woodies, we're all homemakers. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
We all need to top up now and again. If you are pregnant, your flu and COVID-19 vaccines will give your immune system the top up it needs to help protect you in the months ahead. Both flu and COVID-19 can cause serious illness in pregnancy, and your vaccines will help protect you and your baby. So put a vaccine appointment on your to-do list or talk to your doctor or midwife. Visit hsc.ie for more information. From the HSC.
Island's Edge Stout is less bitter, and so is Alana Rourke from Dublin. Alana.
Well, my so-called best friend Emma knew I liked this guy Eric, but then she asked him out before I could. And 2 years later they were married.
Ah, no.
Yeah, but I'm not so bitter about it now.
Well, that's good.
Especially since Eric ended up ageing like milk left out in the sun.
Yeah, we're going for less bitter here now.
And the kids. Oh, the kids, right?
No, sorry. Thank you, Alana. Okay, thanks for sharing. Island's Edge. It's better, less bitter.
Get the facts, be drink aware, visit drinkaware.ie.
When you speed on the average journey, you save just 68 seconds. That's just around the time it takes to make a protein shake. Speed by 10 kilometers per hour on an 80 kilometer per hour road, and you might gain a minute, but you could lose your license, or so much more. Speeding. It's just not worth it. Slow down, stay safe, obey the speed limit. A message from the Road Safety Authority and An Garda Síochána. Visit rsa.ie.
There's no better time to switch to 48. Get all data, calls and texts for $12.99 a month. And there's no contract, so you're not tied down. Plus, we're powered by 3. Switch and save at 48.ie. Monthly membership, fair usage policy of 200 gigabytes, 5,000 calls and texts and terms and conditions apply. One-time activation fee of $12.99. See 48.ie.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, watch Spurs take on Manchester City on Super Sunday. Live, only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. This is Football Saturday. Remember, football and Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. Get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106. Graham Gartland, League of Ireland and FA Cup winner Shane Keegan, the Cobh Ramblers boss, and Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent in studio with us. Latest scores, Liverpool fans, what is going on at your club? How'd you get out of this mess that you're in? because you can't be blaming Jurgen Klopp all the success he's had. Wolves 2, Liverpool 0, 41 minutes on the watch. Man United 1, Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 2, Leicester 1, Arsenal beaten 1-0 by Everton in the rugby. Ireland 27, Wales 10, an hour gone in Cardiff. Evan Ferguson not involved in the Brighton squad today after that nasty tackle by Fabinho. Was tackling becoming more and more a bit loose in the game again? We saw with what Andy Carroll on Christian Eriksen. Bruno Guimaraes was put in a nasty tackle during the week. Is it becoming a bit more of an issue again?
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely, I think we saw in the World Cup there was definitely more a sense of let it flow a bit more, and there definitely was a sense that referees were going to be, I don't know, a bit more lenient at times, but I feel there's just been some flashpoints that have obviously brought it to the top of the agenda, rather than it going back to a sort of some kind of feral time, where people are suddenly stepping across the white line afraid they're going to be hurt or something. It's not quite like that. But I mean, the Ferguson one, okay, we're a little bit biased on it because we have so much hopes vested on him, and you look at a tackle like that and you see a VAR review that doesn't deem it a red. Now they subsequently admit that was a mistake, so it's a mistake. Mistakes happen, even though effectively you have two different officials not seeing something here, one with the ability to look at a replay and not see it. So I mean, that would seem to be sort of inexplicable to me, but I don't know, sometimes we'll talk about, the game is the refs are too finicky and too fussy, and you have to strike the balance where I suppose you welcome a degree of physicality, but I mean, you can't really say that in the context of the Ferguson tackle in any way, and not. But you'd wonder. He's very lucky. The one thing I would say about Ferguson, this is a great story in how it's worked out, because the type of tackle that he suffered, and even the look on Fabinho's face. Yeah. Players know, right? You know when you've done something. That's exactly the point. The two things I think worked in his favour there were his reaction. Whether he was genuinely sorry or not, he did a good impression of somebody who was sorry fairly quickly, and then. Even though he's a holding midfielder and he does like a tackle and that, he's not a fella that you'd say has that in him. And I was just looking at his record, he hasn't been sent off in the last 5 years. He's not. Well, I was afraid he'd heard the pop or something. That dreaded sort of that sound that you hear when
I think it was his lack of pace going into the tackle that Ferguson's got away from him. He's not coming flying into the back of him. It's more like he's just. I still think it's a red card, but it's his lack of pace to cause actual really bad. I think where the tackles from behind like that years ago were as the ball was arriving into a centre forward's feet, it was travelling at pace. The centre forward was on his way to get it at pace, and the centre back came in and he went through the back of his ankle, and the ball would have went back in that direction, looked like he got it. So the Van Basten, that's why the rule was brought in, outlaw tackle from behind, because it basically wrecked Van Basten and it robbed us of probably one of the best strikers of his generation because of that. I think the lack of pace that he had going into the back of it has maybe not. On
this, have you ever mistimed a tackle and really hurt somebody, or has it happened to you the opposite way?
Yeah, both. But
and after the game, you commiserating, or
some of them?
Yeah. Did you feel any guilt?
Some of them. It's a hard.
Come on, Graham. Come on.
He can't make himself liable here, lads.
We don't have to mention names.
I'd be quite see one of my personality traits, which I'm probably not the fondest of. I tend to probably hold grudges a little bit longer than I should, and then if somebody had wronged me or said something to me in a game previously, it would stay with me, and then I went down my way to make sure that I probably got somebody back when probably regret it now. There's other instances when I was younger when I had people threatening to break me up, like I'm going to break your leg, Gartland and stuff, and then I'd go out of my way to injure them before I got injured, and a little bit me was thinking that's the way I had to be, but there is moments that you go, I regret that, I've been on the end of a couple myself, but you live by the sword, you die by the sword a little bit. That's the way it goes. I've got more so elbows, where lads would line you up, come across you, let you win the header, and then just dip their shoulder and bang, and your nose is all over your face, and that's the way it goes. And they just give you a look, and that's football. But there is certain times when I purposely went down my way to try and probably get me own back on somebody, to say to hurt them is a consequence of that, but it's that type of thing of I went down my way to try and get me own back and let them know I'm not gonna. I was a kid.
you think that dog eat dog is starting to disappear a little bit more?
I think it should. I'm not saying I was right in that. That's me owning it, but I think the physical. I think what happened when VAR first came in was any contact was a foul, and I don't think some of it was like an arm on the shoulder. Oh, there's contact. He's dropped. It's a foul. I think what they've done, and I've seen in the World Cup, they've allowed more tussles to become a little bit better. Fight for your space, put your body in, put your hip in. Whoever has the hip line in, the favourite. But that doesn't mean you have to go down for pressure from behind. I think in terms of the tackles, one of the things, if you're coming at pace and you're reckless and you're out of control, I think they should be red cards, because they're the ones that your foot's planted or your body's planted, you can't get out of the way. So I think in terms of the robustness should come back in, fighting for space, but I think the tackles like we've seen on Ferguson still should be red cards in my opinion.
Is there always at the start of a game like a moment where you suss each other out and there's you can tell whether you can handle somebody, or are there forwards you played against that just weren't that way inclined at all in terms of getting into the physical challenge with you, or did you sometimes have to make a statement to somebody?
Some of them were, and you get to know them. Again, the leagues I played in, you generally play teams 4 times a season, whether it was in the League of Ireland or in Scotland. Obviously, I had a youth career in England, but you tend to know which ones will give it back to you and give it, and they know as well. So they know they're in for a battle. Like I had some of the battles I had down the years with the likes of Kevin McHugh, who small little would fight you for every yard and turn around, and then I had some other battles with bigger lads that was a mutual respect. If you just gave each other a nod, and if you caught you with an elbow.
Is there a difference between a hard physical battle that you shake hands after 90 minutes, it's forgotten about, it's stayed in Vegas, and somebody that you know is, no, you're a little bit nasty?
Yeah.
You know,
and they're the ones that you have to watch, that they don't catch you on the sly, or you think I've opened myself up to be done there, and then because in your head you're going, well, I need to do you before you do me a little bit, and and it's weird even talking about it, but they're the small little battles that go on the football pitch, all the time. I don't, like I said,
they still go on.
I think they do still go on, yeah. I do think it is changing. I don't think to the extent.
No, I agree.
I don't think to the extent. Again, the one thing that definitely resonates with me is, like you said, the fact that we play each other 4 times in a season. It gives a lot of time for bad blood to build up between 2 certain clubs, or 2 certain managers, or 2 certain players. That definitely adds to it all. I would say from the manager's perspective, it's more so a case of, and it definitely goes on, and I would be involved in doing it, and I'm sure plenty of other managers would, where you get to know that an opposition player is a hothead, and that you can get in his ear a little bit and wind him up. And by winding him up, either of 2 things might happen. 1, he might play poorly because he's lost his concentration, or 2, he might throw a dig or throw a stupid tackle and get himself a straight red, and you will go after a player like that. There's no point saying otherwise. Of course you will. You'll go after a player like that.
I had a manager say to me, I'd rather you're suspended for 3 games than out for 6 weeks. Don't get done. Don't get done.
It's very pragmatic for you.
Yeah, it was like it was like don't get done. Whatever you do, and don't get me wrong. Listen, it sounds like I'm talking here like I played with Johnny Giles for Leeds here, but it's not. That wasn't the case. But it was just it was the end of that sort of older era where we were coming full time in the 2000s. There was a lot of older, experienced players, and terrible habits of going into tackles, like pulling on things, like pulling with my laces. I went through about 2 pairs of boots in a month, and there was a goalkeeper, and Mick Dempsey was the second goalkeeper at Longford, and he just pulled me. He said, Graham, stop pulling on things, you're going to break your foot. And that's when I had to stop, because I come through full, like I was trying to hit a shot, and if an experienced fella just put up his foot one day, bang, and I'm out for a week with a bruised foot, and he's going, you're lucky you didn't break your foot. So things like that you get help from the experienced boys. Don't pull on that again. Never pulled on a thing again after that.
Just going into a tackle though, this is the thing. People know when you can leave something on someone. I assume as an experienced centre half, you sort of know your boundaries well. Right? You see a particular ball being played at a particular angle, and you see someone's body shape. You sort of know the lines, right? Yeah, so that's something that the experienced players will know. You can leave someone. You're not trying to do someone as such, but you know when you can. Yeah, and you can make it a sore one.
Yeah, and as you get older, you spot them, because you see he's turning blind here, he's turning blind into it. And he hasn't looked, and the ball's there, and then you go, and then you know he's he hasn't spotted you at all, so he's not set. He's not ready to ride this tackle, like things like that.
And more to the point, do you have a reaction to the tackle for the referee's sake, that you know how to get up and play the nice innocent sort of?
Yeah, I never tried to do that much. No, I didn't care if I was guilty or not at the time. Like, but it was that type of thing of, and the refs knew though. The ref would be like, I've had refs say to him, "What were you doing going into that?" Like one of the ones that I speak about, Liam Kearney's one in the cup final in 2005, I think, playing Drogheda, and it became synonymous with the game. Like, I was playing right side of centre back. Liam knocked the boy Damien Lynch, and Liam's on his way to get it. Now, I'd be very good friends with Liam. Liam was my age group with Ireland. I didn't try and do Liam, but I also had to make a tackle, and I hit him, and I think I winded him and bruised his ribs and everything and put him right out. And I was walking out at half time with him, and me and Liam are talking, and he's like, "Jeez, Gart, you gave me an awful one there." And I says, "You okay?" And he's like, "Can't breathe." And he said, and then he goes to me, "What was I doing going into that?" And I'm laughing, going, "I know," and it became like that. And I still speak to Liam this day, and he's like, I still have he goes, "My ribs still hurting every time I see it." But again, he knew himself I shouldn't have went near that.
Okay. We got to take an update from Cardiff, where Ireland are leading Wales in the Six Nations. 67 minutes on the watch. What's going on? Gordon Darcy.
Guys, it's just coming up on 67 minutes in the Aviva. Ireland still leading Wales 27-10. Just as I'm speaking here now, it looks like Johnny Sexton is going to be leaving the field. He looks unhappy and looking to get a little bit of attention. The referee's just blown the whistle to stop time. He's getting a bit of treatment down in the corner. This has been, again, all Wales in the second half. A couple of key moments. There was a 12-man line-out by Wales down in the bottom left-hand corner. And James Ryan, thankfully, got straight up and stole the line. And that's basically been the sum of the second half. Wales full of endeavour, but Ireland's defence has been absolutely resolute. And they are full value for that 17-point gap at the moment. So 67 minutes here, 27 points to 10. On one thing, Wales have obviously lost Liam Williams to a yellow card. So Ireland pretty comfortable just at the moment.
Thanks, Gordon. Yeah, he caught Sexton on the head with his shoulder, Liam Williams. So maybe that's part of the reason why Sexton's in the wars. A bit of a crazy game going on at Villa Park. So Aston Villa 2, Leicester 3 at half time. Villa taking the lead through Ollie Watkins, James Maddison equalising, Harry Suter own goal, and then Kelechi Iheanacho and Tete, the new boy, making it 3-2 to Leicester at half time. Half time, Brentford 2, Southampton 0. Always good at home, good value. Ben Mee and Brian Mbeumo with the goals for the Bees. Brighton 0, Bournemouth 0. Man United 1, Crystal Palace 0 at half time with a goal from the penalty spot from Bruno Fernandes. And Liverpool 2-0 down at the break. Liverpool fans out there, 5-3-1. I'd just love to hear from you, your views on what's going on at your club at the moment, because they're in the doldrums. Joel Matip with an own goal after only 5 minutes. Craig Dawson after 12 minutes with the second goal. There in the Premier League, Newcastle and West Ham kick off at 5:30. In the Championship, it ended Norwich 0, Burnley 3. Rotherham 0, Sheffield United 0, also a full-time score. Half-time scores, Huddersfield 1, QPR 1, Hull 0, Cardiff 0, Luton 1, Stoke 0, Middlesbrough 1, Blackpool 0, Millwall 0, Sunderland 0, Preston 0, Bristol City 2. It is Reading 0, Watford 1, and Swansea 2, Birmingham 1. These are the scores coming in from England, and also matches in Scotland to bring you as well in the Premiership. We'll come to those in a moment. So that's what's going on in terms of the football. Obviously the rugby we've gone through there. At half time I was going to bring you up to date there. Aberdeen 1, Motherwell 0, Hearts 0, Dundee United 1, Dundee United down to 10 men. It is Livingston 3, Kilmarnock 0, Rangers leading Ross County by a goal to 0, St Mirren 0, Hibernian 0 in the Scottish Premiership. Results as well from Leopardstown, the Dublin Racing Festival. Galopin Des Champs 100-30 on favourite, winning the big one for Willie Mullins. And the Leopardstown Handicap Hurdle has just gone to Percival. I have to get the full result of that one, but 4-1 shot winning that one.
Legala.
There you go.
Gavin Cromwell horse, I think. I'm not sure if it's JP McManus horse anyway.
Right, just coming through there, Dan. And El
Fabiola
won the Arkle 9-2, and Gala Marceau another 9-2 shot win the juvenile hurdle. And Good Land, the 3-1 winner of the opening race there, the 2 mile 6 furlong. novice hurdle. So Ireland, with Wales a man in the bin, 70 minutes on the watch, 27 points to 10 they lead. They should be okay to win this opening Six Nations match in Cardiff between 4 and 5. Plenty more on Football Saturday. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent, Graham Gartland and Shane Keegan. We're back after the news. Don't go away, folks. Keep your up to date.
This weekend, join News Talk in standing strong against domestic abuse with Allianz Insurance and Women's Aid Stand Strong campaign. You can donate and find out more at standstrong.ie.
Every Sunday, read the news, the views and exclusive interviews. And all the business, sport, culture, lifestyle and travel, all in the Sunday Times. Plus, with a digital subscription, follow the global news all week in the Times and the Sunday Times. Subscribe at thesundaytimes.ie/join.
The Tile Style Winter Sale ends this holiday Monday. It's your last chance for 40% off all in-stock top brand tiles, even porcelanosa. Guaranteed savings on bathrooms, kitchens and wood flooring in stock now in the Tile Style Winter Sale. Shop in store at Ballymount or at tilestyle.ie.
Which vitamin or mineral supplement should you be taking? This one? This one? Or all of these? Give your body the power of one sachet with the super supplement Revive Active. 26 ingredients acting in harmony, including 11 vitamins, 7 minerals and 6 amino acids to support immunity, heart function and energy. Find out more at your local health food store, pharmacy or at reviveactive.com. Revive Active. More power to you.
At Centra, we have great mega deals for the bank holiday weekend. Like Inspired by Centra breakfast deal, any 3 for €6. Selected crisps, chocolates and soft drinks 4-pack cans, any 3 for €5. And until Monday, Last Monaz Data selected range, €9 each. Smart choices, choose Centra. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy cost sensibly.
Dundeel Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars from all of Ireland's trusted car dealerships. That's why you will find Brady's Mercedes-Benz on Dundeel. Visit Brady's Mercedes-Benz showroom on Dundeel to find your next car. Dundeel Motors, for Ireland's largest range of new and used cars from all of Ireland's trusted car dealerships. Visit dundeel.ie today.
InsureMyVan.ie. Hi, I'm Ken Doherty. For all van drivers and business owners, InsureMyVan.ie is Ireland's low-cost van and commercial insurance specialist. For high-quality van and all commercial insurances, call InsureMyVan.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyVan.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank, move better. Apply in-app today. Applications for Explore Current Account in-app for over 18 personal customers. Qualifying criteria, fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded bonkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
You're snuggled up on your soft new velvet sofa, the one you just bought in the Easy Living Interiors winter sale. It's so comfortable, just like the luxury mattress and plush bed frame you couldn't resist. Well, they were 60% off. And as for your sleek new extending dining set, everyone loves it, and you loved the price. From bestsellers to new collections, expert interiors advice to finance options and fast delivery. Reimagine your home with Easy Living Interiors. Cork, Dublin, Navan, Naas, Wexford, Waterford, Carlow and Drogheda. Sale ends Bank Holiday Monday.
When you speed on the average journey, you save just 68 seconds. That's just around the time it takes to heat and eat your leftover pizza. Speed by 10 kilometers per hour on an 80 kilometer per hour road, and you might gain a minute, but you could lose your license, or so much more. Speeding, it's just not worth it. Slow down, stay safe, obey the speed limit. A message from the Road Safety Authority and An Garda Síochána. Visit rsa.ie.
On the latest Tech Talk, the boss of Samsung Ireland will join me to look at the brand new S23 lineup. Plus, I'll meet Children's Health Ireland to hear about the tech that will be used inside the new Children's Hospital, transforming how healthcare is delivered.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now, or tune in this evening at 5.
On News Talk. On 106 to 108 FM. On the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud and smart speakers. This is News Talk.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Sean O'Regan.
A leading homeless campaigner is calling on the government to extend the eviction ban beyond the end of March. Father Peter McVerry says the majority of people becoming homeless are being evicted from the private rented sector. He says the ban on evictions was the most effective way of reducing the number of homeless people during COVID.
We're asking for that ban to be extended, but to have a process whereby landlords who can show extreme difficulty with that ban can be exempt from the ban on evictions.
Flights at Dublin Airport were suspended for around 45 minutes this afternoon for safety reasons. It's after 2 drones were spotted on the airfield. A spokesperson for the Dublin Airport Authority says staff and the Gardaí remain vigilant in relation to drone activity in and around the airport. Motorists can expect cheaper prices at the pumps beyond the end of February. Excise duty reductions on motor fuel are due to expire at the end of this month, but it now looks set to be extended. Fuel prices topped €2 in many places in the country last year as drivers struggled to keep their cars on the road. A man in his 30s has been arrested after €700,000 worth of cocaine and almost €3,000 in cash were seized in Dublin. The discovery was made after Gardaí stopped a car in the Carpenterstown area yesterday. Finally this hour, the Pentagon says a second suspected Chinese spy balloon is being tracked after it was seen over Latin America. The presence of the first one, which was spotted over America, caused the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken to cancel his trip to China. Beijing says it's a weather airship that's simply blown astray. Professor Michael Clark from King's College in London says shooting it down isn't as easy as it sounds.
It's been tried in the past and it often fails because of the nature of the 20mm cannon shells put lots of holes in it, but it just deflates it a bit, brings it lower, it doesn't bring it down.
And that's your news update at 4:02.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Best birthday present ever. Give a Ryanair gift card.
Mostly cloudy this afternoon with outbreaks of rain. It'll be breezy too with some late sunshine across the north and the west. Highest temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, watch Spurs take on Manchester City on Super Sunday. Live, only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5 in the company of Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent, Graham Gartland, the former League of Ireland player, and the Cobh Ramblers manager Shane Keegan. Remember, football on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. The Premier League is back. Watch every live game for the rest of the season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us on 53106. Just to let you know, in the hurling this afternoon, the league is back this week and Kilkenny have won 118 to 15 points away to Antrim. And in the Little Ladies Football League, there's been a win for Kerry. This was against Donegal earlier on by 210 to 111 at Austin Stack Park. The horse we were talking about was Percival Legalios, is it?
No, Legalwa.
It's
French, yeah.
Yeah, my French is obviously not as good as yours today, Dan. So look, as it all flies through, Ireland have got that bonus point, 34 points to 10. They lead now against Wales in Cardiff. So Josh van der Fleer with the 4th try, brilliant stuff. And there's about 3 minutes on the watch. Let's get more details on that from Gordon Darcy in Cardiff.
So 78 minutes on the clock here in Cardiff and Ireland leading 34 to 10. So I suppose Wales have maybe taken from this that they're drawing the second half. It's been Wales pretty much the whole for the attack, but Ireland's defence really up to the task. And they on only their second time in the Welsh 22, they get that 4th try and the try bonus. And Ross Byrne has come on for Johnny Sexton and has looked really, really composed in the Irish attack, taking a little bit more shape. With a fresh Ross Byrne on. So Hugo Keenan as the player of the match has been absolutely immense today. While Ireland have been made to battle hard in the second half, really the work they did in the first half was enough to see them through this. So Ireland will be full value for this win and with the full 5 points today. So just coming up on 80 minutes, Ireland leading Wales 34 points to 10.
Thanks so much, Gordon Darcy. There are the tries in the first half coming from Caelan Doris, James Ryan and James Lowe, 34 points to 10, with that bonus point secured ahead of the game against France in Dublin next week. Rugby and Off the Ball with Vodafone, main sponsor of the Irish rugby team. We all belong to the team of us. Lads, when we're talking about in general terms, when I'm looking at the scores in the Premier League, Man United 1, Crystal Palace 0 and Wolves 2, Liverpool 0. Eric Ten Hag's brought United to a final at Wembley against Newcastle at the end of the month. He seems to be doing everything right.
He does, yeah, he certainly does, John. it's just the way that he's managed to, like, you know, we would have been sitting in the studio here 12 months ago and talking about, like, how many of the current United squad could you ever really see in a United team that were going to do well, like in terms of challenging top 2, top 3, and you know, we pretty much wrote nearly all of them off. The fact that he's managing to get a tune out of so many players, like, it's impossible to have seen Rashford to reinvigorate in the manner that he is. Like, I know he was a good player previously, but the depths he reached last year, like, he was, you know, he looked almost finished. Like, I know it's mad to say you couldn't write a fella off that's still that young, but you know, you couldn't see him rising back to the standard that he's got at the moment. He's playing absolutely superbly. Same applies to Bruno Fernandes. We had seen the heights he hit when he came in at first, but then his form seemed to fall off a cliff. Back absolutely super stuff again at the moment. Shaw, you know, there's so many examples all over the field of fellas who, of fellas who, you know, just seem to be on a complete downward spiral, who have now completely and utterly reignited, and they look good, they look solid. Casemiro's been classed, honestly. Like, he has been the, you know, for all the fellas who have refound form, it's the addition of him has been without a doubt the key recruitment. He's just been top class.
Not much about Marcel Sabitzer.
Can't say I do a huge amount. I'd be lying if
Yeah,
I
he's
said
the-
all
they
that.
brought him in for Ericsson,
Like, I don't think he'd be a regular starter there.
Well,
really,
Ericsson's
to be
out now
honest,
for
would
3
he?
months. That's
Well, sorry, regular starter at Bayern. I mean, I wouldn't like. I would have seen a decent
No,
amount
he
of
didn't
Bayern
play in the
games.
team today like those selected earlier on. It's Casemiro, Fred in the middle of the park. So wait and see.
Like, when I'm looking at, when you're looking at the obviously what Ten Hag has done, you know, they've gone and played like counter-attacking football at times where I think when they had that result against Liverpool, they only had 30% possession. You know, if they had done that under Mourinho or under somebody else, it might have been frowned upon, but they got a result because I think against the other teams, they're able to go and dominate the other teams, and then they're willing to go, well, we might need to suffer against the likes of Liverpool or Man City because they're a little bit ahead in terms of the development. And again, fans are willing to do that as long as you're trying to do the right things against the teams that they feel they should be. So if you want to go and get a result against Liverpool, we don't care how we play as long as we beat Liverpool. We don't care how we play as long as we beat City. We care how we play, making sure we beat everybody else. And I think that's where the club has bought into that, the fans have bought into that, and the players have bought into that with Ten Hag. So even when they beat Arsenal in the Old Trafford game, I know a couple sort of decisions went their way. They were really good on the counter-attack. So against the top teams, they've been really good in the counter-attack.
It's a tactical flexibility, isn't there? There really is a tactical
but
flexibility.
it's also the buy-in from everybody behind it to go, well, that's okay. Now, in 2 years' time and 3 years' time, they might go out and go toe-to-toe with a Man City, or it might be Arsenal at that stage, and you go, right, but they're not there yet. But he's willing to change it. But I think there's a patience in the fact that under Mourinho, if they gave, I think Mourinho went to Anfield and rolled over a little bit, gave up the ball, let them have it. They got beaten in anyway, and the United fans are like, it's too much that way. So I think in that sense that he's brought them with the money. That right, there's going to be times we're going to suffer because we're not quite there where we need to be. He's only in the job. But there's a confidence in the fact that he's going to bring them through it and get them to where they feel they should be.
Job done in Cardiff, 34 points to 10. Ireland win with a bonus point. Everything that you'd want. Caelan Darce, James Ryan, James Lowe and Josh van der Fleer with the tries. Johnny Sexton went off about 13 minutes from the end. Hopefully there's nothing serious around that, and there was a tactical issue with Ross Byrne coming on. But yeah, well set now for the remaining 4 games and the visit of France, the Grand Slam champions, to Dublin next Saturday. And obviously we'll have plenty of coverage now from Aisling O'Reilly and Gordon Darcy reflecting on that game on the Off the Ball channels from Cardiff. When we're looking at Liverpool, on the other hand, lads, like 2-0 down to Wolves today, I just kind of feel like Klopp's just going to quit at some stage. It'll be unexpected, because does he have the appetite? Does he? I know he's going to sign a longer deal, but does he have the appetite to go again now? Because it seems like a rebuilding job is now needed there as opposed to just a fix.
Can I ask you why you feel that? Because I don't think he's, like, I know he's left Dortmund, but he's never shown in his career, he's never quit anywhere else. Surely, you know, when you say he's going to quit,
it was the comments he made a couple of weeks ago that maybe the best days are behind us. I'm paraphrasing what he said here, but it's just that feeling that they had a bit of a mediocre season a couple of seasons ago. Then they went to, they won both cups and went to every single game, the end of every single game last year, about the league title and the Champions League. And you're wondering, when you're seeing Chelsea just spending like Brewster's millions, when you're seeing Arsenal buying players, when you're seeing Man United back on the up, Newcastle have unlimited money, Liverpool are being sold, you're just wondering, the gegenpress is not as effective as it was. It's inconsistent. Is he up for another 2 to 3 years of building this Liverpool side into what they were again?
I think if he's given the space and given the signings that he wants, I think he would buy into it fully. And it is going to be interesting to see, like it's looking like this season. Let's say they don't finish, essentially could effectively not finish top 6, which is absolutely remarkable now, right? But if they don't finish in Europe at all, and if it gets to the end of the season, what is the vibe amongst Liverpool supporters at the end of the season? Is it time for a change, or is it let's back this man and get him back, he can take us back to where we belong? Because I wouldn't write him off bringing them back from the brink again, or bringing them back from where they are again. Absolutely not. I mean, straight away, like, I don't know if they're going to get their hands on Bellingham, but for me, if they did, like, I think that would be a transformational signing for them straight off the bat. I've never seen one club so in need of a particular player's skill set. I mean, he is exactly what they're crying out for at the moment.
Nearly like Casemiro at United.
There you are. Yeah. There you are. A specific kind of player that has all the attributes they're missing, who can almost single-handedly have that much of an effect on everybody around them. I think it would be an incredible signing for them. Look, they need, one or two more. The midfield at the moment, like you see, I think Bacic is starting again today, isn't he? I mean, how young is he? Like, it's crazy.
It's been playing probably more than they were expecting, yeah.
So there is a bit done, but if I was a Liverpool supporter, I would be saying to the board, okay, listen, let's ride out the rest of this season. Okay, let's take it on the chin. It hasn't been as good as we want, but let's go again with this man. Let's give him what he needs, and let's reach the levels we've been at before. I think he can do it anyway.
Like, I know why John would say it. Like, I know where that hunch, why that might linger, just because you sort of assume that, like, he's been on the treadmill for so long, like, going at it, and you sort of think, is it hard to cope with another year like this year, because the standards they've set are so high. But I suppose, like, they did have the season before last, where Alisson got the goal in the last day to sort of get them into the Champions League. It's more, I wouldn't be having that hunch that it would happen now, but obviously if next season is no better than this season, then you sort of start to think, okay, does he reach a point? But there needs to be something else going on. Like, I mean, we've said it before, like maybe something like the Germany national team or something, but they have someone in place up until the Euros being there in summer 2024. Like, what is he going to go and do?
And maybe it's coming from the manager angle, I suppose, but I just think, like, when a fella builds up a certain amount of credit in the bank, that credit has to see him through tougher times. Like, we're the ultimate example.
I know, but it comes to him, though. I don't think he's ever going to be pushed out the door.
No,
I think it's more a case of his own.
Yeah, it's his own. Yeah, nobody in Liverpool should be calling for Klopp. Like, Klopp is
definitely
an icon up there,
and not at board level, not at supporter level. Again, as I say, look, you see what happened with Tottenham. Like, how the hell Pochettino hadn't bought himself more time when he eventually went through tough times, and we're driving John to the depths of despair now.
I feel the frustration in the Klopp one, that you're like, he got Liverpool back to where they were in so many finals in Champions League. They win a league. They could nearly win it again last year. And they're up against the spending might of Man City, who it's a little bit loaded in their favour. They're punching above in terms of financially, and then like you said, Chelsea come in and go, well, we're going to spend X amount, and Arsenal have started to spend a little bit, which Arsenal fans have been crying out for as well.
Jorginho,
yeah. So they end up then going, and he's probably thinking, if I don't get the resources to go against these, then it's going to be maybe a struggle. So I agree to a certain extent that, unless he goes and gets assurances from the club that he's going to give them and here's one of your football, a war chest that you were talking about, one of those from a couple of weeks ago.
That war chest,
give him a war chest. Yeah, I was listening. So unless he goes and says, like, give us the financial backing to allow me to rebuild this squad. Now, they have been a couple of years ago, they were unlucky with the injuries to Goff. We were talking about bad tackles. Pickford tackles on Van Dijk was one of those ones where the height of it, the pace of it, the sort of maybe the intention behind it leads to a bad injury for Van Dijk, and he was so vital. They missed out on a lot of players that year through injury, but they still managed to get Champions League. This year, they haven't. Diaz has been the one that they maybe missed because Mane had left as well, and Diaz was brilliant for them when he came in. But they haven't really missed many that you think they're vital.
You'd wonder, could the Mane situation have been handled better, or could it have been handled differently? Like, I don't think. I know Liverpool fans realise he was a good player. I'm not fully sure they realise just how good he was. Like, during that successful period, he played more minutes than any other Liverpool player.
That's right.
He was the constant all the time. He was the constant there. And I suppose there was this balancing act going on between the amount of money that Salah wanted for a new contract, almost made it impossible for them to keep Mane. And, you know, that's where it
cost more to replace him.
Absolutely. And Salah.
And when Gigi Wijnaldum as well, I thought he was
loss.
Yeah, he was another loss.
The impact on Salah as well.
The impact on Salah, he absolutely hasn't kind of produced since that new contract, really, to the levels that the contract he got demands, if we're perfectly honest about it. But again, you know, he is another one that could be reignited very easily. I mean, he's not at an age where he should be in free fall at this stage yet either.
53106 Liverpool fans, love to hear your views on this quandary that you're in at the moment. 2-0 down away to Wolves of all teams, although I think Lopetegui is a class manager and we'll get Wolves safe. Man United were watching here the TV, 1-0 up against Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. Bruno Fernandes with the goal from the penalty spot in the first half. Brighton 0, Bournemouth 0. No Evan Ferguson in the Brighton squad today. Brentford 2, Southampton 0. Brentford always good at home. And Aston Villa 2, Leicester 3. A lot of signings coming into the Leicester team. A lot of changes in defence actually today. And they're now leading Aston Villa in the battle of Rodgers and Emery. Everton 1, Arsenal 0. Speaking of transfers, Dan, was there anybody from an Irish perspective that caught your eye during the week, or was it just mainly about Matt Doherty and Michael Obafemi?
Yeah, I think Doherty is the main one that sort of started the most debate. The Obafemi one has been going on for a while. Yeah. There's a few other sort of loans and stuff, younger ones that have happened earlier in the window and maybe ones for the future. But I mean, even the likes of sort of Shawnee Maguire move, and I know Shane would know well, and a couple of people, like little individual stories that are interesting. But I think the Doherty one sort of jumps to the top of the list just because it's such a modern transfer. Like we touched on it earlier on, the sort of the quirkiness of the fact that Spurs, again, we've got an issue here with our loans, and the ability at short notice to turn a loan into writing off a year of someone's contract. You know, I don't think Matt Doherty will be left out of pocket by this solution. You know, and when you have a very influential agent in your corner, as he does, like represented by Jorge Mendes, you know, you're not going to be left in a quandary. You're not. You know, I'm sure whatever was put to Matt Doherty, whatever solution was put to him, he knows that he's not going to be sitting there in the summer going, "Oh, geez, I'm a free agent now. I didn't see this one coming." Yeah, you know, I think
that loan didn't work out.
I think he'll be okay. But I mean, there is. I mean, sort of talking about it a bit. There is something like we love the idea of like an Irish player playing for a European club, when actually it's going to become a lot more common, just the way the football world is now, particularly with some of our younger lads going to that neck of the woods. But
I mean, when you say this morning was the first time in a long time that I looked online to see what time Atletico Madrid were playing at today.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah. No,
who was the last ones to go? Obviously, you had. The one that sticks out to me was Aldridge to Real Sociedad back in 89, 90.
Yeah, you had Aldridge, Kevin Moore, and Michael Robinson go for people go back and
did Ian Hart play?
Ian Hart in Levante, Steve Finnan as well.
Steve Finnan
in Espanyol as well, and more. It was
Phil Babb in Lisbon. Phil Babb went to Lisbon.
Yeah, and like that's it. You've had there's been that young kid at Getafe as well who's Irish qualified, Finn, but. In terms of sort of a more established player going there, I think Finnan is the most recent one. And some of the latter day ones are possibly lads moving more so towards the end of their career, whereas I suppose in the late 80s, that was a time when a lot of players from UK and Ireland went to sort of Europe because that's where the money was. Yeah. And you had... You know, you would have had a time there, obviously, where the English clubs weren't allowed in European competition and so on. So there would have been a few angles to going abroad at that stage for various other players, not necessarily the ones we've mentioned. But he is going to a club where they have an established first choice right back, Molina, who was involved in the Argentina squad that won the World Cup. You would presume, though, still, he is such a. I think Doherty is a very competent player. Like I think he's, on a good day, he's very capable that he'll get some games. But it's almost like a bridge move in some respects as well. I'd imagine there's some kind of plan for Doherty in the summer, and that will come to fruition. It may not necessarily be there. I can't imagine. It may not be. Look at where he's going. Like Simeone's on the way out of there. Like, I mean, Conte's probably looks like he's on the way out of Spurs, like, but that doesn't matter to Doherty now. But it seems like there's a lot of like short-termism going on here. This is a 6 month, like it's a low-risk gamble for Doherty probably. Go and give it a go. You can always say you've tried it, and who knows, it could open some other doors.
And as Spurs fans surrounded by, probably most Spurs fans I've ever been surrounded by in my life, but would you be disappointed to lose him?
Not really. And nothing against him. He's a solid pro, very good player. Pedro Porro, we'll have to wait and see. Didn't play a minute for Manchester City. Has been doing well at Sporting, but
the issue for me though, John, would have been I would have liked to see Emerson Royale going out the door.
Well, Spurs. Conte wants to play wing backs, and the wing backs he's had are not good enough to challenge for like the really top of the Premier League. They're good enough to be 6th, 7th, 8th at the moment.
In an attacking sense,
yeah,
or defensive sense?
I would say. Well, Sessegnon on an attack and Emerson on an attacking sense are definitely not there.
Yeah.
I think Doherty on an attacking sense much better.
Still probably not good enough to compensate on the fact that he hasn't probably done well enough for Conte defensively.
Like Spurs were a team with Kyle Walker and Danny Rose as wing backs or full backs.
Bloody, we had Trippier as well.
Trippier. So,
mother of God, look at the level he's at the moment.
And also Trippier benefited from a move to Atletico Madrid.
Bale as well.
Trippier benefited from a move to Atletico Madrid, but maybe Matt Doherty can.
Yeah.
But I was just looking at the Premier League. I was looking at stats during the week. The 79% of the spend across all the top 5 leagues in Europe was from the Premier League, and it's spent 3 times as much in transfers in the other 4 big leagues combined. Where it's at is actually in England. Yeah. Whereas, you think about the 80s, 90s, you'd have players going over to
Serie A.
Or Spain as the dream. Like Steve McManaman was the dream. Like it was an upgrade for him to go to Liverpool to Real Madrid. Whereas now I think it's an upgrade for anybody to be in the top 6 in the Premier League.
Even Man United, or even Ronaldo.
So that also illustrates that Matt Doherty is a very, very good footballer. To be playing in the 5th, generally team that's been qualifying the Champions League 4, 5, 6 years in a row.
Yeah.
I know, like it is. I mean, the broader point. I mean, it is obscene, the spending in the Premier League. It's like it's just gone off the charts, and you see like clubs, like Nottingham Forest are just. Andrea Ayew was just coming in there after the window as well.
Keylor Navas.
It's just Keylor Navas, and they already have Dean Henderson. It's sort of obscene stuff, really.
2-0 to United now.
Yeah.
They've made it 2-0.
I mean, and that is the thing. Like, I mean, it's going around in circles. Like, will the bubble ever burst? And you kind of wonder, like when you see these top managers coming into sort of mid-table Premier League clubs, it's like, is this a period of time we look back on in years to come? Go, geez, that was a bit crazy, or is this just the new normal? With the sort of the Chelsea model of ownership and almost like lifting it up another level, like raising the bar in terms of sort of money being no object to anything. So, I mean, there are still obviously top players in other leagues, but what's striking is that some people are willing to sacrifice playing Champions League football in another country to come to a club in England that's never going to be in the Champions League. And that's probably not healthy.
Marcus Rashford with his 10th Premier League goal this season, and kind of a tap in from 6-yard box.
Really good team goal though, isn't it?
Luke Shaw with the delivery.
Really good passing. You led me down a rabbit hole there. Quick Google when you were talking about Irish players who played in Spain. We forgot about a former League of Ireland manager.
I know who you're talking about.
Ian Buckley.
Buckley. Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, great, a terrific playing career. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Was it Santander? Was it?
Yeah. And Alan Campbell before him.
The two of them played up front together for Rovers, didn't they? At some stage.
Yeah.
Buckley and Campbell.
Yeah. Buckley, like he's been around the League of Ireland so long. Yeah. People would forget that he lived a really interesting football life as a player.
See, on the thing you're talking about, like the behemoth, like the TV money from. At the moment for the Premiership is astronomical.
It's the international rights as well. It's a huge game changer for them.
So
the overseas rights more than the domestic. But that's what's driving all the Super League stuff. This is why it happens, because you have like Madrid and obviously Juventus are a disgrace now again at the moment. But like you have a situation where these traditional powers in Europe are agitating because they're looking at the Deloitte rich list and all these, and you're seeing like Premier League clubs filling the top 20 spots who on your traditional perception of what a big name is, like these aren't big name clubs
historically, they're not,
and they're killing like all bar a few. Like, you know, Barca, like you still got Bayern and Barca and Madrid to an extent, but like they're all, like you see the Barca financial stuff in recent times. Atletico's debts are insane. You still have Simeone's like the highest paid manager in the world or whatever, but you know, João Felix, who then they have to try and sort of get out the door,
and you'll never see João Felix again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he got the 3-game ban that Gartland would have liked, as opposed to the, you know, getting done for he could have been injured.
Took a 3-game ban instead.
Yeah, like the old school João Felix.
Yeah,
you know?
But even the managers are gravitating towards it. Like, look at the level Unai Emery.
Well, that's what I was saying.
And
yeah,
was the Aston Villa manager. You know, a team that were just above the relegation zone when he came in.
And even like even when you touch on it with Rodgers walks out of Celtic, who's in the Champions League, he's on to win 10 in a row. He up and leaves to go to Leicester, and then you have a year later Gerrard goes from Rangers, who's another behemoth. These are massive clubs.
It shows where international management is not also where it's at. You know.
Well, and truly playing second fiddle, isn't it?
As in terms of, obviously for pride perspective, is massive, but.
Yeah, like you see people saying, how the hell did Martinez manage to get the Portugal job? But I mean, what other?
But Mourinho, you would have thought. There's a scuffle here. There's a bit of a flare up in the Man United Crystal Palace game.
It's getting enough now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's back.
Hopefully, someone in the hopefully no one in the crowd gets involved, as would be the tradition.
Oh, with Crystal Palace, yeah.
So
don't worry.
Man United leading by 2-0.
VR's got it covered here.
The Six Nations has been won, 34 points to 10, and now the drama has shifted from Cardiff to Manchester at Old Trafford. Ireland winning with.
We're talking about that maybe this is the new physicality of the game here. We're just going to bring back.
Remember Arsenal and Man United late 80s had a massive row. Like it was
David Webb or something, wasn't it?
Neil Webb, was it?
Neil Webb, sorry.
Is there a late challenge?
Oh.
Was alright.
That's similar to the one I was mentioning off air. Remember Ben Thatcher when Mendes, where he puts him over to the sideline. Look,
Anthony barged out of the way.
As bad as it looked the first time, actually.
Yeah.
No, it's just that he goes. So for people who are not seeing it, it's a tackle on Anthony, but because there's sort of a ramp coming off or there's a slope coming off down the side of the pitch, when Schlupp tackles him, Anthony goes flying, which obviously makes it several times more impactful.
Yeah.
Then the other players get involved.
But even like we were talking about the change, like Crystal Palace had these managers that were all about being robust, keeping them up.
Ian Dowie.
Yeah, Roy Hodgson.
Pulis
was in charge.
Alan Pardew. Got them to go
and then they go. I remember he got the Boar one year.
That was a short lived.
Yeah, that was a short one as well. And then they go, right, well, they've gone all in with Vieira now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. That's what's happening there in the Premier League. Just a breaking news story. Possible delay to the Wexford Galway Hurling League game. Patrons moved onto the pitch after safety concerns in the main stand. Wexford GA have tweeted, "We've a slight safety concern at Chadwick's Wexford Park. We're awaiting advice from the fire officer. Mains power is also out. We got further updates as soon as available." So just anybody who's around or going to that Wexford Galway Hurling League game to be notable of the announcements down at Wexford Park. Man United 2, Crystal Palace 0. This is Football Saturday. Dan McDonnell, Graham Gartland, Shane Keegan. Everton 1, Arsenal 0. A result from earlier. Is Arsenal's title challenge now over? It's a joke. Aston Villa 2, Leicester 3, Brentford 2, Southampton 0. These are latest scores. Brighton 0, Bournemouth 0, Man United 2, Crystal Palace 0, and Wolves still 2-0 up against Liverpool at Molineux. Newcastle kick off against West Ham at 5:30 in the Championship. Norwich 0, Burnley 3 is the result. Burnley and Vincent Kompany and Josh Cullen soaring towards the Premier League. Rotherham 0, Sheffield United 0. Huddersfield 1, QPR 1 is the latest. Hull 1, Cardiff 0. Luton 1, Stoke 0 the latest. Middlesbrough 2, Blackpool 0. Millwall 1, Sunderland 0. Preston 1, Bristol City 2. Reading 1, Watford 2. And Swansea 3, Birmingham 2. What's going on now, lads?
Asmir's in trouble here in this, Sean. Look, he has him caught around the neck, look.
He has used that with 2 hands around his throat.
He has his 2 hands around the throat on that row that we were watching.
They're slowing down. So
they're slowing it down on VAR to look at whether there was any incidents that were punishable, but I'd say Casemiro's in big trouble here.
Yeah, so
he's gone over to look at it.
Manchester United leading Crystal Palace by 2-0. Yeah, so Bruno Fernandes after 7 minutes.
Is that down as a red card?
Above the shoulders, isn't it? Think any contact above the shoulders. Think he could be in trouble here.
Yeah.
He's gone across. The ref's gone across to have a look at the screen himself. Now the VAR,
good sign.
The fellow up in the studio obviously can't make his mind up. But they'll all be holding their breath because...
Did they ever go against the decision of the screen? Is it one to the out to the screen? Is that always really, really bad news?
Yeah, honestly,
bad news in Scotland about it a while ago. The last couple of weeks it's been getting...
Casemiro on Will Hughes there. He's got him in a chokehold. It's like something out of a wrestling match.
Yeah.
The ref, I mean, you've seen the odd instance recently, but the ref will go their own way. But generally, you would think when they're being sent over, Someone is saying there's a red card incident here, but
it has weight, but he's on the way back here. We'll find out. We will find out.
This is the drama now of modern football. These are the.
Don't know if it makes for great radio, but
no. Well,
he's calling him in. Yeah,
he's calling in Casemiro. He's calling him in. He's reaching to his. It's off. Casemiro sent off for Manchester United in the game against Crystal Palace, and they're down to 10 men with 20 minutes to go. The Brazilian going to the line. Manchester United leading by 2-0.
That's silly. Like, he's, just a bit of pushing and shoving in general. He's experienced enough that he should know how to push and shove without doing it in a manner that results in a red card, isn't he?
He has no GAA background. That's what's the cost.
Yeah. We got to take a break. We're back with Graham Gartland, Shane Keegan, and Dan McDonnell after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Catch Nottingham Forest versus Leeds tomorrow on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk. The Home Show.
Coming up on the latest Home Show podcast, I'm chatting to Cork-based Swedish beekeeper Hannah Backmo. We're looking at modular housing and whether they provide one of the solutions to the housing crisis. And the new bank holiday in honour of St. Bridget Falls. We'll be joined by basket maker and weaver Aoife Patterson on making Bridget's crosses.
The Home Show with Sinead Ryan.
That's the Home Show podcast on the News Talk app powered by Go Loud.
At Zurich, we don't insure against. We insure for up to 24% off when you quote and buy online. Zurich, for car insurance, for what can go right. Visit zurich.ie.
Save 19% with promo code PROTECT when you get a quote and buy online at zurich.ie. This offer is for new customers in the first year only. Save an additional 5% if you have any existing Zurich policy. Zurich Insurance plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Roses are red, violets are blue. If it wasn't for the Flower Factory, I don't know what I'd do. Don't leave sending Valentine's flowers till the last minute. Leave it to the Flower Factory. From stunning bouquets to gifts and hampers, enjoy same-day delivery in Dublin and next day nationwide. For a happier Valentine's Day, order now from theflowerfactory.ie.
Your son, who smiles every time he gets a message from a certain someone. The twins, who think your son has lost his mind. Their granny, who knows that if hearts get broken, she's only ever a call away. Whatever your clan are up to, connect them with Vodafone Red Family. Add family members young and old for just €5 a month. Go online or in-store to find out more. Vodafone. Together we can.
Subject to eligibility. 12-month contract and terms. See vodafone.ie/terms.
At the Fruit People, we know that no two offices are the same. That's why we work with local artisan producers and catering partners to offer a unique food and beverage experience your whole office can enjoy. From fresh fruit baskets to healthy snacks, locally roasted coffee to lunch catering. Turn your workplace into a healthy food space. Search thefruitpeople.ie.
The historic Killashee Hotel is the perfect place for your next getaway. Located just outside Naas in County Kildare. Embrace your inner foodie at our newly renovated restaurant. Enjoy the crisp country air while strolling through our elegant gardens. Pamper yourself at our award-winning spa or enjoy some retail therapy at Kildare Village. Most importantly, let our team take care of you. Killashee Hotel, the new chapter. Part of FBD Hotels and Resorts. Discover more at killasheehotel.com.
St. Bridget, you legend. Original Irish rebel icon. This bank holiday, Centra celebrates you and every one of Ireland's modern day Bridgets. The Irish women who rock our world. Irish mammies, sisters from other misters. The Ashlings, the Stunhuns, girl squads and teammates. The fight for what's righters and the stay out all-nighters. Legends all, this bank holiday is about you. So pop into Centra and pick up whatever you need for you and your crew. Centra, live every day.
When you speed on the average journey, you save just 68 seconds. That's just around the time it takes to make a protein shake. Speed by 10 kilometers per hour on an 80 kilometer per hour road, and you might gain a minute, but you could lose your license, or so much more. Speeding. It's just not worth it. Slow down, stay safe, obey the speed limit. A message from the Road Safety Authority and An Garda Síochána. Visit rsa.ie.
Say hello to spring with lots of fresh offers at your local Woodies, with deals like 3 for 2 on laminate flooring and up to 30% off home furniture. We've got everything you need to bring that spring feeling home. And if it's the garden that you're looking to spruce up this season, you won't want to miss the Karcher K4 Power Washer for only €299.
Offers are for a limited time only, so don't miss out. Shop the way that suits you, in-store, online or click and collect. Woodies, we're all homemakers. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, watch Spurs take on Manchester City on Super Sunday. Live, only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you as always until 5. This is Football Saturday. Remember, Football on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. Get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106. Some messages coming in about Liverpool. Check out a great article on Sky Sports a couple of days ago about the brain drain at Liverpool. They've lost a lot of talent off the field as well, says Michael and Kerry. And Liverpool financial clout, exclamation mark, can't compete. They spent a fortune recently on Nunez and Gapco. Their net spend over the last 5 years right up with City and Arsenal. Latest scores, Casemiro sent off, as we mentioned, just before the break for Man United, but they lead Crystal Palace 2-0 at Old Trafford. Can Palace capitalise in the last, 15 minutes? They've just scored. They've just scored as I speak. Crystal Palace have brought it back, and it is that man, Jeffrey Schlupp, who has got himself booked for a tackle on Anthony, and he's put the ball into the top corner. Crystal Palace have pulled one back against Man United. Man United 2, Crystal Palace 1.
Yeah, because De Gea just made a brilliant save previous to that there to knock it away for the corner actually. So it's the follow-up set piece, and he's just poked it home from a ball that's rebounding in there. So it's going to make for a very interesting last 15-20 minutes now. This is a big 15 for United.
Wow, a third goal for Wolves. Wolves 3-0 now against Liverpool. Ruben Neves.
My God.
Brighton 0, Bournemouth 0, Brentford 2, Southampton 0, Aston Villa 2, Leicester 3. Cyrus Christie scored for Hull in the Championship 1-0. They lead Cardiff. Other latest scores there: Huddersfield 1, QPR 1, Luton 1, Stoke 0, Middlesbrough 3, Blackpool 0, Millwall 1, Sunderland 0, Preston 1, Bristol City 2, Reading 1, Watford 3, Swansea 3, Birmingham 2. Bonus point win for Ireland in the rugby, 34 points to 10 against Wales in Cardiff. Josh van der Fleer, James Ryan, James Lowe, and also Caelan Doris touching down as Ireland look to build on that with the visit of France to the Aviva next weekend. Newcastle West Ham 5:30. The teams are in. Nick Pope in goal, Trippier, Botman, Scher and Byrne. St Maximin gets a start with Willock and Longstaff, Joe Linton, Callum Wilson and Almiron for the Toons. For West Ham, Fabianski, Ogbonna, Kerr and Aguirre. Sofal, Lucas Paqueta, Declan Rice and Emerson, Antonio Bowen and Benrahma for West Ham. Kilkenny beat Antrim in the hurling league. This was in Division 1 Group B, 118 to 15 points at Corrigan Park today. Shane Keegan, you're building up to a new season with Cobh Ramblers. Have you made any kind of Cristiano Ronaldo style signings or anything like that?
Yeah, we probably have. I think we picked up a fella, JD, called Jack Doherty that would, I suppose, by first division standards and our standards, considering we finished rock bottom last year, would have been a bit of a shock. I noticed he threw out the usual thank you very much for my time at my previous club kind of tweet to Wexford the day before we announced him, and the clamour on social media was whether he was signing for Waterford United or Cork City. So the fact that it was us and neither of those two kind of shows, I suppose, what a big signing it was for us. So look, he's got a touch of class. He's very, very good. We've brought a fella down on loan from Galway as well, Wilson Waweru, and we've also got a player back who had gone to Galway, Charlie Lyons. So yeah, no, it's coming together reasonably well, so it is, and our pre-season results have been pretty good. Pre-season is a bit mental, as you can imagine. Like, once you get into the season, it's kind of routine and everything takes care of itself, but in pre-season you're bouncing around. You don't really know what's going on from one week to next because games get moved around and there's all sorts of things going on.
How many are your staff?
Lots of moving parts. We'd have 5, 6, I suppose. We'd have, if we include the young fellow that we have in, an intern who's kind of fairly involved in that as well. We'd have 6 of us. We were up last night, actually. We were up in Dublin last night. We were down to play Pats, but they picked up a couple of injuries and they had to pull it. So we fair play to Kilmanagh in a very strong Leinster Senior League side. They come out. Conor Kenna, who the lads that know, former League of Ireland player, is looking after them. So they came out and played us last night. So really appreciate them jumping into the gap. And we're going to we're poshing it up a bit tomorrow. We're going to Fota. Oh. So we are, where all the top Premier League sides like to land into. So we're giving the giving the morning out in photo. They've got fantastic facilities.
We went there with the 14s last year.
Did you? Yeah.
And I asked you this, so you're scheduled for a part-time club, because a lot of people think,
Well, I love this discussion, part-time, full-time.
But that's the question. So it's evening training, is it?
It is, yeah.
You try and get the most in then on your weekends?
Yeah.
Obviously, I've been through it as both, so I was just seeing what it is now.
So you take this week, for example, part-time, and, lads who by and large are getting paid very, very little. We trained Monday night. We played Waterford Tuesday night. They were off Wednesday. We trained Thursday night. They come all the way up to Dublin to play a game last night. They're off tomorrow, and they're in from 9:30 till 1:30 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's their last 7 days, part-time, I get the meaning part-time really means how much you can afford to pay a person, really is what we refer to as part-time, because it's definitely not a part-time commitment, JD, that's for sure, It's really, really not. But
you were up playing Shamrock Rovers a couple of weeks back, you were saying?
We played Rovers, it was just with this man sitting beside me, we played Rovers a couple of weeks back. The big clubs, JD, would fix 2 games for the one day, such would be the resources they'd have player personnel-wise in that. So I know Stephen Bradley had fixed Bray. They were playing Bray that morning, and then us just after lunch. And what they did was they split their let's say their first team players. They split them half and half. Kind of 11 went one and 11 went to the other. But then the kids, they're kind of 16, 17-year-olds, tugged out as subs for both games. Tugged out as subs for the Bray game, and then tugged back out as subs against us. Because when I was looking at the lineup playing Bray to see who was featuring, so I'd know who wasn't going to feature against us. And they were 1-0 up at half time, but they won at 4-0. But I was looking at all the goal scorers and I didn't know any of the names. And I was like, who are all these? And so they played us in the afternoon, and again it was 1-0 with about an hour left. And they took pretty much the whole team off and brought on a load of fellas that are about my height. And for those who don't know me now, I'm about 5'6". And all these fresh-faced 16, 17-year-olds. And in my naivety, I said to our lads, come on lads, we're only 1 behind now, and let's go for the throat here. Great chance to get an equaliser playing against a team of kids. And my God, they were mind blown. Their level of technique was scary.
Really?
They were actually better for that half an hour. I know the first team lads won't like to hear me saying it, but they were better for that half an hour than they actually had been for the previous hour. And it just, look, in one sense you're going, when's the conveyor belt going to stop for Rovers? But in the other sense you are looking and going, if this is the standard of player that we're starting to produce, like, things can only be moving in the right direction, surely, because the technique level was just, we thought we could get up in their face and chase them and nick the ball after them. Nah, ping, 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 ping. It was brilliant to see it.
Goals in the Premier League. Leicester, their 4th against Aston Villa. Welcome win for Brendan Rodgers' side. Dennis Pratt with the 4th. And Brentford 3, Southampton 0 now. Matthias Jensen says Southampton struggling at the bottom of the Premier League. Man United 2, Crystal Palace 1. As we said, Palace trying to get that equaliser with Casemiro sent off. And Wolves 3, Liverpool 0. Like, that's such a bad result for Liverpool. It's just a bad result. Yeah.
So these kids are good then, Graham?
It's all right.
Yeah.
Not for me to say.
Very modest now, sitting there quietly.
No, it's not modest about it. I'm not the one doing the work. They're the ones doing it. They own their careers. They own it. But yeah, the biggest thing when we probably looking back, and I think it was, what year did we start? It was 2013. I would say. Even it was Shane, obviously, had come in. Shane Robinson had come in as director of coaching, and then he had asked Stephen and asked myself to start coming in and helping. And the model was that we wanted players that had all the heart that we still had in Irish football, but to try and give them a technique and a bravery that allowed them to basically get careers at the highest level of the game. And that's what you're trying. Some of them will fall short, but if they're falling short, you're hoping that they still have careers, and if they're able to get to the highest level they can. But we've a lot of positives in Ireland in terms of our heart and our endeavour and our attitude and all that, and it's about channeling that sometimes into technique as well. So that's the big thing.
It's really interesting, right, that you're talking about an Irishness and an Irish heart about them. And then I would say that one of the things I noticed looking at the team sheet was the variety of surnames. Yeah, absolutely, the variety of surnames.
But they've grown up in Ireland, but it's given them that, like, as I say, the courageousness, the Roy Keane type of attitude of we're going to maximise your output here, but also with a technique and a skill level behind it. It's even that bravery thing that, and this is me going into coaching at a younger age group, say, like if you're winning 1-0, instead of holding on to the result, go and make it 2-0. If you're winning 2-0, relax and go and make it 3-0. Whereas sometimes, and I see it, we've this fearfulness of what we're losing.
Yeah.
So that bravery to go and take a game, and you see it. We played really well. We were 1-0 down. Yeah, you had nothing to lose.
We need to have a chat about this off air. Do you know no team lost more points from a winning position last season than Cobh Ramblers?
So but that's where you're trying. But they're changing that mindset, and I see it with international teams. I see international teams. They'll have friendlies lined up, and they'll go, we're playing a team that we'd be better on. We're playing a team that we're not great on, and then you see it, and they go, right, we're going to play a low block in one of the games, and I know which one they're going to play against. And you're saying, we're going to play a low block against this international team, but we're going to play high press against this. And you're going, why don't you flip it? Why don't you play a high block or a high pressing game against Spain and a low block against one of the teams that you're expected to beat? And it's that bravery of going, it doesn't matter who you're playing against, still bring what we're good at to the game. And you're trying to do that with the younger players at Rovers, to give them no fear. And at times people say, oh, it's easy at Shamrock Rovers. It wasn't. 8 years ago it wasn't, because we were getting beat and we were still trying to be brave. I remember we played against teams that have all the international players in them now, and you'd be trying to go toe to toe against them, because one day we're going to have to overtake us by going toe to toe. So that's the type of things you're given. But it's nice to hear that that technique stood out, Shane, because that's the biggest thing, the technical side of it. But the fact that they're brave to play even when you try to press them.
But the surname thing, Dan, is following right through into the senior international.
Oh yeah,
teams.
there's no doubt about it.
Or underage international teams, dude. We have some fantastic surnames in some of the underage teams at the moment.
I mean, there's no doubt that the sort of the multicultural aspect of our international sides is.
But everything going on as well with, I know that I'm not getting into the politics of it, but the same people would cheer on the international team, all these multinationals in it, and then say, oh well, there's no room. You can't have it both ways.
I know. I mean, we're not going down that road, but I mean, it's the most obvious point of all time, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can see the hypocrisy of that, that the tricolour doesn't belong,
Yeah, the tricolour doesn't belong to anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that needs to be reiterated in this
But like
country.
you said, them kids, they love playing for Ireland. There was a lad you were talking about, well, I don't like naming them because you put too much pressure on them, Albanian descent, and Albania come in looking for him, he's like, no, I'm playing for Ireland.
Yeah.
What more do you want,
Yeah.
I'm playing for Ireland.
Yeah. Wexford GA, slight safety concern earlier at Chadwick's Wexford Park, but that's now under control. So the match in the hurling league is going to now throw in at 5:15. So that's what's going on there. Crystal Palace chasing that equaliser against Manchester United. 2-1 United lead, 87 minutes into this. Remember, the top four is obviously races going on.
Yeah, Harry Maguire's been brought on, and they've made a couple of changes. Manchester United, they're not. I would say Palace, we're watching a chance being put into the box at the moment. But the last 5-10 minutes, United have managed it reasonably well. They've managed to sort of cut back on real sort of clear-cut opportunities, but they've run the clock with a couple of injuries or stoppages, so they're just about getting there.
Yeah, just about. Wales, remember, and Ireland, 34 points to 10 win. If you're just joining us, for Andy Farrell's side, and a bonus point in Cardiff. England and Scotland have just kicked off at Twickenham. In the Premier League, Aston Villa 2, Leicester 4 is the latest. Brentford 3, Southampton 0, Brighton 0, Bournemouth 0, Manchester United 2, Crystal Palace 1, Wolves 3, Liverpool 0. Newcastle West Ham a 5:30 start. Everton beat Arsenal 1-0 earlier on today. Norwich 0, Burnley 3 a result. Rotherham 0, Sheffield United 0. Huddersfield 1, QPR 1 at latest. Hull 1, Cardiff 0. Luton 1, Stoke 0. Middlesbrough 3, Blackpool 0. Millwall 1, Sunderland 1. Preston 1, Bristol City 2. It is Reading 2, Watford 2 now, and Swansea 3, Birmingham 2. And in Scotland, in the Premiership, Rangers leading Ross County 2-1. Aberdeen 3, Motherwell 1. So back in form. Hearts 2, Dundee United 1, Livingston 3, Kilmarnock 1, St Mirren 0, Hibernian 1. So Man City go to Spurs tomorrow. Interesting that Jacques Cancelo was pretty much turfed out pretty quickly out of City. Ruthless from Guardiola. You got to get on with Guardiola if you want to stay at City.
Unbelievable how quickly that's all turned. Like he has gone from, to me, the best full-back in world football 6 months ago to surplus to requirements at City and out the door before he can blink. Like it's absolutely
Is
mad.
there any information come out behind it?
Well, from what you'd read in the papers and in the media, that he wasn't getting on with the manager and he was feeling a bit frustrated at his lack of completely 90-minute opportunities. And with Rico Lewis playing so well, with Kyle Walker in the mix, Guardiola and him seemed to have butted heads, and there's only going to be one winner.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's only one winner.
It's got to Bayern Munich.
Yeah, there's only one winner in terms of the argument.
But in terms of the quality?
Well, in terms of who ends up with trophies, I think there could be a different winner. Like, there's a hell of a chance that, a Bayern team beat a Man City team in a Champions League semi-final or final and João Cancelo's one of the star players. There's a hell of a chance that Arsenal win the Premier League this year with Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko as two of their star players, because again, Pep has, shoved them out the door. So, there's only one winner in terms of who stays and who goes, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be the winner in the long term. He could lose a Premier League title and a Champions League title because he's cast players off.
Yeah. We want the President's Cup next weekend.
Yeah, it's coming back into sight. I suppose, as Shane mentions, we probably should mention, Derry manager Rory Higgins lost his brother, and he passed away suddenly. I think he lived in Sweden sort of in the last 48 hours or so. So there's been, I think Derry were playing a pre-season friendly last night where obviously Rory wasn't on the sideline. So just wish him all the best. Yeah, no, there's been a lot of good wishes from around the community. So I see even other managers and people talking about it. So really sad. So yeah, I mean, it is.
I think they actually had to pull the game in the end.
Yeah, did they put? No, I thought they were involved. They were playing Carrick Rangers in some other game anyway.
Split game maybe.
But yeah, they have the launch of the league season on Wednesday, so it's all. I mean, Shane's living it at the moment. It is all coming back into sight. I mean, I suppose one of the themes of the year is, can Derry go one better and sort of push Shamrock Rovers? And they've signed well and they've recruited well. So. Adam
O'Reilly's a good sign.
Adam O'Reilly, they've signed Derry. Rory generally is he's picked up a lot of players who are proven in the league already for the most part, and Colin Whelan has gone up there from UCD. So I think it's going to be a good season this year. I think I know you can find yourself saying that every season, but I think there's sort of substance behind it in terms of a couple of teams strengthening and hopefully being a bit better, because Rovers are going for to equal a historic 4 in a row, and you would like to think that the title race will go all the way, but I'm sure we'll chat about it more maybe next week as it comes into sight.
7 minutes to stoppage time at Old Trafford, and Man United leading Crystal Palace 2-1 with 10 men. Casemiro sent off. Will be off air by the time it goes red, as it were. But good to see the women's game also getting their version of the Cup 25th of February between Shelburne and Athlone.
Is Johnny Ward back for the old launch? Is he?
He should be back. No, he's going to be missing the launch. No, he's off.
Oh, the Damien Duffer thing.
Yeah, he went viral, didn't he? Johnny. Yeah.
Johnny Ward. If you follow Ward-winning media, Ward-winning media on Instagram, you'll see all of his adventures from Toronto.
He's in Toronto. He may be catching up with a certain Kevin Camban at some stage if they can manage to their paths align. I was actually just looking. This is League One. I see Derby 5-0 against Morecambe. 5 goals, 5 Irish goal scorers. Well, actually,
really?
David McGoldrick, 3 Irish goal scorers. McGoldrick scored a hat-trick, James Collins and Jason Knight. So I can't imagine that's happened too often where a team has won 5-0 and every goal came from an Irish player. But that's something that definitely has happened in League One today. Just looking, I see Sean Rowan as well has scored for Lincoln, who's a young kid from Dublin who was on loan with Drogheda last season.
He was very good.
He's very he's a name. He's a teenager still, Sean, I think. So he could be a very good player in the years to come.
Trivia bots, get in touch. The Championship had finished Norwich 0, Burnley 3, Rotherham 0, Sheffield United 0. Latest scores: Huddersfield 1, QPR 1, Hull 1, Cardiff 0, Luton 1, Stoke 0, Middlesbrough 3, Blackpool 0, Millwall 1, Sunderland 1, Preston 1, Bristol City 2, Reading 2, Watford 2, and Swansea 3, Birmingham 3. Birmingham have equalised in that game. In Scotland, Livingston 3, Kilmarnock 1 is a result. Rangers lead Ross County 2-1. St Mirren 0, Hibs 1, a latest. Hearts 2, Dundee United 1. Aberdeen 3, Motherwell 1 in the Premier League. 5:30 start Newcastle against West Ham. Everton beat Arsenal 1-0 earlier. Sean Dyche with the boost. Aston Villa 2, Leicester 4, a latest score in stoppage time, as is Brentford 3, Southampton 0. Brighton 1, Bournemouth 0 is the latest score. that goal coming for Brighton very, very late in the game, and it's come from Caro Mitoma. Has scored again for the Seagulls. He's an unbelievable run, that lad. Wolves 3, Liverpool 0 in stoppage time, and Man United 2, Crystal Palace 1. Shane Keegan, Graham Gartland and Dan McDonnell, thanks so much, lads, for today.
Sure, Judy.
Pleasure.
And I hope to see you all soon. Remember, Ireland have beaten Wales 34 points to 10 in the rugby in Cardiff in the opening Six Nations game. We'll have reaction from Gordon Darcy and Aisling O'Reilly across Off the Ball, digital and social channels. Check out our YouTube channel and our Twitter account @Off the Ball for all the reaction from Andy Farrell and the lads after that 4-try win, that bonus point win in Cardiff earlier today. England playing Scotland right now. And we got to leave it there. Don't forget Off the Ball back tomorrow from 1 to 7 here on News Talk. We're showcasing 2 live and exclusive commentaries from the Premier League. Nathan Murphy and Vinnie Perth providing the call on the match between Nottingham Forest and Leeds from the City Ground. Then Stephen Doyle and Brian Kerr will describe Tottenham's match against Manchester City from North London. All on your FM. There's also the Sunday paper review across our digital and social channels from 11:30 with Kieran Cunningham and Gavin Cooney. So be sure to join us tomorrow for some great commentary and conversation. If you missed any of OTB Football Saturday with Graham Gartland, Dan McDonnell and Shane Keegan, you can find a podcast on the OTB Sports app or listen back, folks, wherever you get your pods. Thank you so much for listening to us on your radio across the country on News Talk here today. We'll speak soon. Bye-bye.
Give him a ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass. Give him a ball and he out of space. He'll give you a move with godly grace. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. He's a nice young man. It's a lovely smile. He's a nice young man. It's a lovely smile. He's a nice young man.